Welcome to Please Bet on Football Games.
Money, which we broke our streak of good week, bad week, good week, bad week. We won 0.3 units.
Hell yeah, Batman.
Still counts.
Still counts.
For the year, that takes us to minus 8.8 units with a 38.2% win percentage. Still bad, but so much better than it was just 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. I also think that we got our first lucky win of the year, or at least in recent memory. So let's get right to it.
So first up, we bet on the Thursday night game. We took Houston money line over the Jets. It was a plus 125 bet. It was also a 2-unit bet. The Jets won, not convincingly, but they definitely won that game.
Yeah, CJ Stroud was everything that I thought he would be coming out of Ohio State in that game. And nothing hurts more than when you lose a bet betting on a guy that you don't believe in. So that one really stunk. But no, the Jets were absolutely the right side. The special teams actually broke our way a little bit, at least early in the game. The injury luck broke our way a little bit early in the game. And then it ended up not mattering. Like Garrett Wilson kind of stole a touchdown. Garrett Wilson's going to do that from time to time. CJ Stroud missed a wide open touchdown to win the game.
Yeah, that was bad.
Below average quarterbacks that are severely overrated are going to do that from time to time. Not even below average, just super mediocre.
I think below average is harsh.
Yeah, nobody looks as beautiful mechanically. He looks like a wonderful quarterback, but you know who else really looked like a wonderful quarterback that had every tool in the bag? My comp for CJ Stroud out of college, Teddy Bridgewater. Every tool in the bag. Before he broke his knee into a billion pieces, he was pretty mobile. He had a beautiful release, fairly accurate, just not consistent with the accuracy. Decisions were spotty, couldn't handle pressure very well, and that's exactly what CJ Stroud was in this game. Now, I'm not going to change my entire grade on CJ Stroud that has evolved for the last year and a half because he had one game that confirms a prior, but it's something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I mean, he's looked a little rough in general this year. Obviously, the last few weeks, he hasn't had many receivers, and not having Nico Collins obviously is a huge loss. But yeah, he just hasn't been consistent. He still moves well, and he extends a lot of plays, and I think he does a really good job when he's extending plays, like keeping his eyes downfield and still having an ability to make a significant gain. But he just was not consistent like that. His accuracy was spotty. Again, it's tough when you aren't as familiar with the receivers or they might be less crisp with their routes, but he's just missing stuff. And I mean, the one everyone will pay attention to is that missed touchdown right at the end of the game. But he hasn't been great kind of all year. And it's why Houston, even though the record's still very good, they feel like a paper tiger.
Two things. One, remember that Georgia game? I think it was his last college game, if not his second to last one, where after an entire college career of being really weak versus pressure, all of a sudden he was just a master playmaker under pressure.
Yes.
And you may recall that when I watched that game, I realized a pattern. And that pattern was, every single time he's pressured in this game, he just runs backwards, rolls out, and then throws the ball up to Marvin Harrison Jr. And as soon as Marvin Harrison Jr. got hurt in that game, he stopped being very effective against pressure. And that's why they lost. And that's exactly what has happened without Nico Collins. So I think, and that's not to say that CJ Stroud can only play with an elite wide receiver one, but it is to say I think that he can only handle pressure when he has an elite wide receiver one, because he throws that ball up to his number one guy. And in this game against the Jets without a number one guy, he was throwing it up to his tight end. Who's the guy they got from Dallas? Dalton Schultz. But Dalton Schultz isn't like that. So it didn't work as well. Number two, I cut out, I did some analysis of data. I've graded every game of CJ Stroud's career now. So I went back and I cut out his first 8 games from last year because he was a rookie adjusting to the NFL, whatever. It's not fair to him to count those. So just in the second half of the season when he really caught fire, quote unquote, and so far this season, his GPA average in games I've graded, which is all of them, is 1.93 last year in those final 8 or 9 games and 1.92 so far through this season. Guess what his college grade was in the 10 games I graded from OSU?
1.9.
1.92.
Damn.
I think he might be a C to C plus quarterback. That's just what usually for reference, if a quarterback has an average grade of a 2, his grade for my purposes is probably much more like a 2.2, 2.3, just because sometimes people have shitty games and you kind of just have to ignore them and push them away, take them out of the average. Like F games hurt you more than A games help you. So you just cut out those outliers a little bit. So I think that, I have a 2.2 grade on CJ Stroud. I think that's about where he belongs. But we have talked a ton about CJ Stroud to start this podcast on a bet we lost and deserved to lose.
Yeah, I think he's probably like Joe Burrow level.
Yeah.
But that's enough.
Plenty.
Next up, a winner. On Sunday, we had Atlanta over Dallas -2.5. That was a 2-unit bet. Cash. Dallas was terrible.
Take the dog for a walk. That was too easy. By the way, PFF said Dak Prescott was, I think, the 4th or 5th best quarterback of the week. PFF, what the fuck are you doing? Next game.
We had Washington over the New York Giants -3.5. That cashed. They won by 6, I believe.
Giants made it frisky now.
Yeah, I thought we were going to lose that for through 80% of that game.
That is the beauty of the emotional hedge. The Giants could not stop the Commanders' run game. That was the whole game. We deserved to win that bet, but scary. Wasn't as easy as it could have been, or theoretically should have been.
Absolutely. A loss. We had Chicago over the Cardinals money line. That was a +110 bet, but a loss nonetheless. Deserved to lose that one. Caleb Williams is looking rough.
Yeah, it is super rare that you see a team with a winning record quit mid-season on their coach, but we just saw it. The Bears were the players were talking about how they need to, this is a player-led team now, and they need to play for each other, basically saying, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, get this coach out of here. And they're not wrong, but it's crazy to see that happen mid-season because these players will convince themselves to follow anybody. So Eberflus has to really be, stubbing his toe. That's the proper euphemism for that. Just terrible. Caleb Williams looks lost. His deep ball is even worse than even I thought it could be. It is the worst I've ever seen. I knew it was really bad in college because at USC, I graded something like 40 or 50 deep balls and he was accurate on about 28% of them. In the NFL, we're down to 12 now, Alex. 12%.
That's awful.
I mean, it's
like it has to be not real, right? Like it's that bad?
Honestly, I think that he has a problem with depth perception because there's no pattern, right? Tua will always underthrow his deep ball. Baker will typically overthrow his deep ball. Caleb is overthrowing it. He's underthrowing it. He's leaving the ball inside. He's leaving the ball out of bounds outside. He's everywhere but the receiver's hands. And it has no trajectory on it, right? It's like a line drive Byron Leftwich trajectory. It's bad in every possible way. And the Bears are bad. And they made the Cardinals look really good. And it has kind of jacked up how I think about this league because I don't think the Cardinals are very good. But the Bears...
Yeah, they do keep playing bad teams, but they have had some competitive games against good teams. I mean, didn't they beat the 49ers? Granted, Brock Purdy was terrible, but let's move on. Another win. And this was the last of our just actual of the 5 bets. We had the Rams over the Seahawks -1.5. That was a 2-unit bet that cashed. Thank you, overtime and craziness.
We done got lucky on that one.
Yeah.
Count the ways. Geno Smith had the weirdest performance I've ever seen. He threw, I think it was 9 deep balls, 7 of which were accurate.
That's nuts. 6
of which were elite throws. One of them was it was accurate, it was catchable, but wasn't perfect, so it was great, not elite. That's unheard of. That's a season's worth of deep balls right there, right? There's a lot of quarterbacks I've graded who have 10 on the year. So for him to nail that aspect of the game so amazingly and still get a C grade for the game because he fucked up literally every other facet of the game, whether it's fumbling 2 snaps, whether it's throwing ridiculous interceptions, whether it's just missing receivers wildly, bad runs, bad sacks. He fucked up every single part of the game. And then Matt Stafford didn't play his best game, but he played good, and he's really settled into just consistent B and B plus football lately. He's not the guy he once was, but he's good still. That being said, we deserve to lose this by a field goal. Then the final score is a little misleading because Stafford threw a deep bomb touchdown when he didn't really need to. They just needed the field goal.
It ends the game though. Take the pressure off the kicker. So we went 3-2 on the spread picks. We did have that teaser of Buffalo and New Orleans. Buffalo pulled it out. New Orleans did not.
Yikes.
Yeah. New Orleans fired their coach.
Which is the proper reaction to losing to Carolina.
Right. Michael Thomas went on Twitter and absolutely eviscerated Derek Carr.
Somebody that loves that man needs to sit him down. Take away his phone. I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm saying, buddy, chill.
Yeah, you're not helping yourself or anybody involved.
Is he just going to retire? If he's
got to. Either way, teaser lost. That was a 1-unit bet. We also had that little tiny quarter unit bet of Tampa over Kansas City money line. That was a plus 440 bet, so it would have been real fun if it hit. It really was close.
Todd Bowles did the thing that he does. Did you watch the whole game?
Not the whole game, but I watched parts of the first half and then the entire second half in overtime.
Okay, so did you see the parts of the first half and third quarter where Todd Bowles punted on 4th and less than 3 times from midfield? We're not talking like 4th and 3 at his own 30. We're talking like 4th and 2 at the 55-yard line. So like the opposite 45.
I mean, I didn't see the ones early on, but I definitely saw it in the third quarter.
Yeah, it was, and like people are mostly getting on him for the choosing not to go for the 2-point conversion at the end.
I think he should have gone for the 2.
Hell yeah, he should have. So here's what he should have done. You get the ball down to the 1-yard line with 30 seconds left. You don't call a timeout.
Absolutely.
You run a play. You wait until there's 15 seconds left on the clock and you snap the ball. 15 seconds allows you 4 plays, assuming that, anything that is not a touchdown is incomplete. You also still have your timeout just in case, right? Like, because people are like, oh, well, what if there's a holding or something? Okay, well, then you have a timeout. And oh no, 5-10 yards is not going to change your fucking calculus at the end of the game. You'll be okay. Just, hey, how about this? Be well coached and don't hold. Anyway, run the clock down to 15 seconds. Assuming that the plays went exactly the way they did, you score on second down. Now there are 10 seconds left on the clock. You go for your 2-point conversion. 50-50 chance. Maybe you don't get it and you lose. Okay, so nothing changes. But if you get it, now Mahomes has 10 seconds to, assuming you squib the kick. So now there's like 8 to 7 seconds left on the clock. He's got no timeouts and about 5 or 6 seconds to somehow throw a 40-yard out of bounds ball to kick a field goal to win. That's a lot harder than scoring 1 touchdown against Todd Bowles' putrid defense, which leads me to my final point. It wouldn't matter that much that Todd Bowles blew the end of game decision, and it wouldn't matter that much that he's constantly punting on 4th and short from positive field position if his defense wasn't, and I'm not joking, the easiest to pass on in the history of the known world. Alex, I'm going to teach you how to throw for 500 yards in your current body against the Todd Bowles defense. You're going to take the snap. You're going to take 3 steps backwards. You're going to throw the ball 5 to 10 yards straight ahead of your fucking nose. There will be a running back or tight end there and no linebacker in sight because there never is. There's never... Like people think of like I'm joking. This isn't hyperbole. It's Levante David covering a 30 square yard patch of grass between the fucking hash marks. Everything between the hash marks, between the line of scrimmage and the first down marker is vacant. And you saw Lamar Jackson tear it up with just easy little running back curls. And you saw Patrick Mahomes tear it up with just tiny little fucking quick slants to Kelsey. It's easy. It's so easy. And people are like, oh, you could never. Yeah, you bullshit. You're cocky. You think you could do this in the NFL. Buddy, I played catch. I played catch with my dad as a child. I played catch with my buddies at the beach. I can throw the ball 10 yards. And if there's nobody nearby, how the fuck does it matter who's playing quarterback? No. So Todd Bowles, bad strategist, bad decision maker, bad defensive coordinator. I'm so glad that he makes several $1 million a year to do exactly and only these things. That's my rank.
Yeah. And I mean, that's why we can't really bet on them.
Yep.
Now, granted, if we would have taken the points, because wasn't it 8.5?
9.
But regardless, it was a fun little bet. Didn't hit. Let's move on to week 10.
Yeah, week 10. We're past the halfway mark.
Crazy. So first up on Thursday night, we have the Cincinnati Bengals going to play the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens are -6.
If you recall the offseason when we did the AFC North preview, we had the Ravens as our 6th ranked team. And we were both surprised, or I did. And we were both surprised at how high they were. But then when we thought about it, we were like, nobody else in this league is really competent. And they certainly are. Now, add in the fact that Lamar Jackson is having his best season by a landslide. Like, he's legitimately playing well. Like, maybe you think I'm wrong, audience member. And for years, I've been saying Lamar Jackson's a very replaceable quarterback. He's just in a system that is completely different from everybody else, kind of like Army and Navy and Georgia Tech in college, where nobody's used to the triple option. And as long as you're athletic, like Tyler Huntley, this offense will produce. Well, in those years, I had him rated like 1.8. This year, I have him more like 2.5, 2.6. And I'm sure that'll come back down to earth, but that's a massive improvement. Like, he's playing legitimately really good ball. And in most seasons, I would make him a legitimate MVP candidate right now. Unfortunately for him, Allen, Herbert, and Mayfield are balling out of control. But the question is, can the Ravens win this game by a touchdown? And I think they can, but it is a division game on a Thursday, possibility of rain. Those are all score restricting circumstances, right? They're the kinds of things that make games lower scoring and closer. I ain't touching that shit.
Yep. I don't want to bet on this game because I think the fact that it's a Thursday night game, it's a division game, makes me lean towards the Bengals just because I feel like it'll be close. But I still don't think the Bengals are very good.
No, I mean, they can't play. There's nothing on defense. It's Trey Hendrickson having a crazy year. Remember like a month ago when we were like, what has Trey Hendrickson been up to? Since then, lights out.
Yeah.
But it's just him. There's nothing else. Like, I mean, Logan Wilson, yeah. I like him, but secondary is dick. Zay Flowers is a freak. I mean, he's Antonio Brown. I swear, without the crazy.
That we know of.
Love me some Eagles. I mean, that is, he's special. Yeah, I don't.
So, yeah, like Baltimore's going to be able to score at will, and Baltimore's defense is very bad right now because they have no one that can cover. But I think the Bengals are going to have to score like damn near every time they get the ball.
Yeah. PFF thinks Joe Burrow is the second best quarterback in the NFL. What are we doing, PFF?
And I think T. Higgins is questionable, so he might play, but even if he does, he's going to be...
Apparently he's not gonna.
No. So, like, you lose, like, yeah, you still have Jamar Chase. The Ravens don't have anyone that can cover him.
No, they just got
Lattimore?
No, he went to the Redskins. Guy from the Bills went to LSU, I believe.
Trey White.
Trey White. Every time I thought Trey, I then thought Trey Edmonds, and I got stuck in a loop.
Is Marlon Humphrey back?
Yes, but...
Has he been back?
I think he might have played for the first time last week.
Okay. That's what it takes. I thought he was out, but yeah, I don't want to bet on this game. Let's talk about Sunday.
Well, I don't want to bet on this game.
Kicking off Sunday in Munich, Germany, I believe, we have the New York Giants going to play the Carolina Panthers. Kicks off at 8:30 a.m. Central Time. Carolina's +6.
Close your blinds, don't set your alarm, have a nice little sleep in, eat some brunch. Next game.
Yeah. Next up, we have the New England Patriots going to play the Chicago Bears. The Bears are -6.
Buddy?
How bad do you want to do it?
I think I have a new addiction. Every year the season of this podcast is basically highlighted by me believing that a few quarterbacks are just so much better than the market perceives them that I have to keep betting them. And Drake May is entering that fold. He's nuts. My favorite thing is Commanders fans gaslighting themselves into believing he wasn't good when single-handedly carrying the Patriots to overtime against the Titans last week. In overtime, down 3, he threw an interception 60 yards downfield. It did happen. Oh no! I better throw him in the wood chipper. Meanwhile, the Bears are actually falling apart. I heard that DJ Moore just walked off the field yet again. I think he hates football because he's had like 9 quarterbacks and the only one he didn't hate was Justin Fields. And Justin Fields is the only one who can't throw a football.
Yeah, I don't get him because he hasn't liked anyone that he's played with besides Fields. Like, and he's played with all types of quarterbacks.
It's not that he hasn't liked him. It's that he's openly spoken shit to the media unprovoked about Baker, Darnold, Caleb Williams. Trying to think, there's more. He liked PJ Walker and he liked Justin Fields. So he likes guys who throw the ball hard but not well.
I guess. I don't know. Maybe those two just fed him the most.
No, but they didn't.
I don't know. Maybe he
You know
just
what?
got along with them really well.
Okay, you know
Thought
why
they
he
were cool dudes.
likes TJ Walker? Honestly, you know why he likes both of them? I just figured it out. When Baker played for Carolina, I noticed that DJ Moore, every time he's got an option route. So, like, typically, if you're running a streak in the NFL, you have a built in option. Like, oh, if you're not beating him after 10, 15, 20 yards, you just stop and catch the back shoulder, like turn it into a curl kind of. DJ Moore, no matter where the cornerback is, will always just run the streak anyway. And PJ Walker and Justin Fields will always throw the streak. Whereas, like, every other quarterback has a brain and is like, oh, you're not winning the race. I'll throw it to your back shoulder and you'll make a big catch. But like DJ Moore's got this complex that he has to win deep every play he runs deep. So that's probably honestly a very large part of it.
Sure. I have no evidence to contradict you and don't know enough about him. Do you want to bet on the Patriots?
Yeah, I do.
I mean, fuck, they're bad.
They're bad, but they're so much less bad than people thought very recently. And the Bears legitimately don't care about playing football.
Yeah, but I feel like if you're gonna get right against anybody, I guess the Panthers are probably the true get right team, unless you're the Saints. But
Dude, the Patriots just don't lose by margin, though. Like, when Drake May plays, they keep games close.
that's been like 3 games.
They close against Tennessee, beat the Jets. They were close against Jacksonville until very late. So that kind of throws a wrench in it. Okay. Yeah, it's like 3 games. Dude.
I don't hate it. I don't necessarily want to do it right now because it's like
you do. Your skepticism is valid and welcome because it is easy to just say, I think Drake May's a top 5 quarterback and they're grading this game. They're setting this line as if he's like middle 10. But at some point, like the rest of the entire team matters a little.
Yeah. And like, yes, the Bears have a bad coach that they don't like, but how different is it in New England? Like they have a probably worse coach. They might like him more. I don't know, but it's not much better. And the Bears definitely have a better roster. And I do really like May. Obviously, he was incredible last week. And like, I don't really blame him for the pick at the end of the game, but he definitely has some of that to his game. Like it's the nature of a Josh Allen, a Baker Mayfield, a Justin Herbert, of a guy that's just firing and is firing to all parts of the field. He's going to have some picks.
Right. I mean, he's also playing like the definition of hero ball. It's totally understandable.
So I just worry about he might have a couple picks because the Bears are still a decent team roster-wise. And it's not like the New England has a big advantage on the coaching side or anything. So, I mean, I could definitely be convinced, especially depending on how the rest of these games look. But I think they're a maybe for me at this point.
Yeah, maybe at best.
All right. Next up in the 12 o'clock hour, we have the Buffalo Bills going to play the Indianapolis Colts. The Bills are -4.
Dude.
Did I read that right?
Yep.
4. Cool.
So Bills are on the board. Joe Flacco looked worse last week than I expected him to. There's clearly some problems going on in Indy's locker room. And the Bills just keep getting better on offense. They keep looking cleaner. Last week, they had a fluky close game against Miami. Keon Coleman dropping a ball that was perfectly placed in his hands for a touchdown that turns into an interception. I think the Bills were in the deep red zone like 3 times and had 1 touchdown, 2 turnovers. Missed field goals. So Bills had a scare last week that'll probably wake them up. Amari Cooper should be back this week. He didn't play last week. And the Colts pass defense is terrible.
Yeah, it is. It's very bad.
Flip to the other
side. They have
side.
a lot of guys that can catch passes that worry me, but I think the Bills are definitely going to be able to score pretty easily. And I don't know, like Joe Flacco, I mean, we even saw it with the Browns a little bit last year of like, he's still not a great quarterback.
He's not even a decent one.
And like, I think some of it, it's classic backup quarterback stuff of it's just the novelty of it for the first few weeks. And then it starts to wear off and they come back to earth. And the same thing's going to happen with Flacco. Like, yeah, he's in a good situation of he has a good line. He has a good offensive play caller and he's got a bunch of receivers that he can throw to, especially that can kind of go up and get balls. But the Bills defense isn't as bad as I thought they were going to be. They've been playing better lately.
They got Von Miller back.
What's that?
They got Von Miller back last week and he looked really good.
Yeah. So I'm still good with it. -4, obviously not a great number, but the Bills are looking good.
Win by a touchdown, man. And this is a team that can do that. Yeah, because I mean, what are the Colts going to try to do? They're going to try to run the ball. You can't run the ball on this Bills front. That's like the one thing they're good at stopping. And they're going to try to spread you out. And the Bills are already used to playing cover 2 zone. They're kind of built to stop spreading you out. I like this matchup. And fuck, it's not the best week of picks. So the Bills are on the card. They're a bet. I don't love it, but I like it.
Yeah, I'm good with that. First one in. And next up, we have the Minnesota Vikings going to play the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Vikings are -4.
And we're taking the Vikings.
Yeah.
I don't know why it's taking the market so long to realize that the Jaguars don't want to be here. Like they're done. They were gifted somewhat, I don't want to say suspicious, because I'm not going to lie, I didn't watch the play that hard, so I don't actually have a take on how the ref should have ruled. But they gave the Jaguars a fumble 6 on a ball that maybe Saquon didn't even fumble.
I didn't see it.
It was weird. Like Saquon bumped into his lineman, and then after bumping into his lineman fell to the ground, and very clearly after falling to the ground fumbled, and then it was returned for a touchdown. Like he was on the ground for like a half a second before he fumbled. But then the argument is like, had he given up on the play already? Like had he given himself up? Or like had a Jaguars player not touched him on the way down? And I didn't pay that much attention because I was watching after the fact to grade the quarterbacks, but it was fishy. Anyway, then Trevor Lawrence marches right down the field beautifully and then throws an interception to end the game. And it wasn't even like the worst interception. He threw a fade ball and like the receiver didn't really make a play at it. And then the linebacker made a leaping, like falling backwards interception, like an amazing catch. But they're fucking 2-7. They're selling off pieces. I'm honestly surprised they didn't give away more at the trade deadline today, but it seems like the Jaguars are done. And meanwhile, the Vikings have never been stronger, getting TJ Hawkinson back. Their offensive line doesn't seem to be missing a beat without Darisaw. I don't know how we could not take the Vikings -4.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like, they have some weaknesses, and they've lost 2 games, one of which was against the Lions, who are apparently unstoppable.
Apparently.
Like, this is a very good team, and even if you want to say, like, the Jags are kind of plucky and they were in that game last week, if only because the Eagles let them back in that game.
Yeah.
So the Vikings are definitely the side. Like, yeah, 4 is a rough number, but I feel pretty comfortable at a touchdown between these two teams because the Vikings are good and the Jags are just not good and the vibes are bad. So I'm good with that. We can make that a bet as well.
Yeah, I don't, yeah. It's just fucking the Vikings.
Are there any injuries we're missing?
Let's check. I know what the hell is going on here? Okay, we're back. No, we're not. What the guys, my browser is tripping me up. All right, I'm not touching it. It looks like the Vikings are basically perfectly healthy. They did have to just put their kicker on IR, but like it's kicker. Don't sweat the small things.
Yeah, obviously I don't love that, but yeah.
But the Jaguars are going to be without 2 of their top 3 receivers, and also, may I remind you, they don't care anymore.
That does help.
All right,
let's move on.
Oh, a terrible one.
Next up, we have the Denver Broncos going to play the Kansas City Chiefs.
Before you give us the line on this game I don't care about, I figured out why my browser was being all fucky. My microphone had leaned over onto the control button of my keyboard.
That'll do it.
We're back.
The Denver Broncos at the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs are -8.
You got to lean Broncos, I guess, but they suck and they're a fraud. And next game.
Yeah, I agree. Obviously, 8's a good number to go Broncos, but Bo Nix is terrible.
Terrible.
So I want to stay away. Next up, we have the Atlanta Falcons going to play the New Orleans Saints. The Falcons are -3. 3.5? 3. Why am I seeing 2 numbers on the same website?
It looks like it just spiked to 3.5.
Okay.
So something's wrong here. This line is not what it should be.
It's the post-coach firing bump.
It is, but also so I watched and graded Derek Carr in that Saints game. They lost to Carolina, but they dominated Carolina. They just legitimately, it was one of those games where, and as a fan of a terrible franchise that hires defensive shitty head coaches, you're familiar with this, as am I, growing up a Bears fan. It's one of those games where the Saints felt like they were in control the whole game, so they just continually ran the ball and kicked field goals, thinking that they were impervious to points being put up against them. And then at the very end of the game, the Panthers threw a couple of interceptions that should have lost them the game. And then the Saints kept on running the ball for no gain, punting, and then eventually the Panthers on their third attempt scored a touchdown to win. The Saints were not nearly as bad as the score indicates. The Saints probably should have won that game. They just kind of were coached like shit. I don't think that's going to
I saw one of those other stats that was similar to those ones we had early on of like when the Titans lost that game to the Bears and whatever, where it was like no team has scored 3 touchdowns, not allowed a touchdown by the other team's offense, and won the turnover battle and still lost. And the Saints had one like that last week.
Oh, yeah, they did.
So I think that's a tough loss. Also, I mean, Chris Olave got like carted off in the middle of the game. I think that's probably yeah. And apparently they all know he does that a lot.
He does that a lot.
I don't know. It's tough to bet on the Saints at all, even if you're kind of going coach firing bump.
Hear me out.
But they're selling guys like Marshawn Lattimore, not that he's been playing, but
they just they just traded away their best defensive player. How pissed are you if you're Chase Young and you couldn't get off this sinking ship? He's on a 1-year deal and they still couldn't trade him. That sucks. Yeah. I'm showing you the depth chart for the Saints defense as it currently stands. Who on that defense is good? Tyrann Mathieu washed. Brian Brisset is good. He's not good against the run, but he can rush the passer. But other than that's really porous and shitty. I don't really know who this guy is, the new head coach of the Saints, so I won't speculate, and I certainly won't convince myself that he's good.
I mean, he's a special teams coach, so he's an attitude guy. He's a motivator.
Yeah, something tells me that the Saints, who are 2-7 and just lost to the Panthers, their backs might be broken.
Maybe, but we've seen this before. I mean, remember the Raiders when what was it, Scarnecchia or something?
No, it was Scarnecchia was the Patriots offensive line guy.
Oh yeah. Getting my old Italian men confused.
It was something old and Italian. I do think it's really funny that team was really furious that the Raiders went off and hired Josh McDaniels instead of that special teams coach who they temporarily promoted. And they were like, we should have kept him. He had something going. And then he's just not in the NFL anymore. Well, I mean, he is. He's the special teams coach of the Packers, but he's not hey guys, if he actually should have stayed as the head coach, he probably would have gotten an opportunity. He hasn't. And then they fired Josh McDaniels so they could hire the interim head coach that you guys all clamored for the second time. And he's fucking so beyond lost. It's painful to watch the Raiders play. Stop listening to players. They don't understand coaching. You would never ask a pawn what strategy you should run with your queen and king. And in the organizational depth chart of the entire franchise, players are pawns. Quarterbacks are like the horse guys, knights, because they're slightly better than a pawn. But owners are kings, GMs are queens.
That's why, who is the Texans owner that said, was it Cal McNair? That was you can't let the inmates run the asylum when it was like Bill O'Brien when they wanted him to get fired or something. And it was oh no.
It was Bob McNair. God or somebody else rest his soul. Yeah, that man was outspokenly racist.
Who?
He didn't even say asylum. There's the old saying, you can't let the inmates run the asylum. That one makes some sense, because it's crazy people in a place for crazy people. You don't let crazy people make decisions because they're crazy. He said, don't let the prisoners run the jail.
Oh, yeah.
Which is much more flavorful and pointed. Anyway, yeah, he had a long history of saying things. He was not a good guy. His son, Cal, you want to have some fun, go Google Cal McNair and his attractive wife and his, do your best not to diagnose Cal McNair, but you will.
Oh, no. All right. Are we betting on this game?
Yeah, we fucking are, dude. Give me the Falcons. I mean, I don't like it because I hate the number and it feels fishy as fuck. But we have to at least maybe pilot.
Yeah, it does feel fishy. I mean, Atlanta's still not a great team, but they're a hell of a lot better than the Saints are. I feel like this is purely the Saints aren't as bad as they've been playing. And they're going to get a bump from the new coach.
Well, that's the thing is the Saints aren't as bad as they've been playing, but when you get unlucky, you lose your quarterback for a long time, you get unlucky, you have crazy unrest in the locker room, all of a sudden, I don't care that you're actually better than your record because I don't know if you care anymore. Like I have to imagine morale is at an all-time low. But counterpoint, just like last week with the Texans, 90% of the cash, 90% of the tickets on the Falcons. Man, Vegas isn't just going to let 90% of people win the fucking money, which is why I kind of want to say, if we don't really get the line, stay away from the line. There's fucky voodoo going on here. There are probably better bets.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Next up, we have the San Francisco 49ers going to play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The 49ers are -5.5.
And the 49ers are coming off of a real bye.
Yes.
And Brock Purdy can't continue to play so fucking abysmally.
Yeah, and against this defense, it's perfect for him.
It is. You know what? We should probably... PFF thinks Brock Purdy is the 5th best quarterback in the NFL. Have they watched Brock Purdy ever? One time?
Maybe like one collective game if you count up all the individual highlights they've watched of him.
Dude, I think Christian McCaffrey... Dude, Brock Purdy's highlights are like, that screen was well placed.
He's had some nice deep throws.
He has, but I hate him. I don't hate him. He's just the epitome of average. Christian McCaffrey's back.
Is he playing this week? I thought they just opened his practice window.
They're talking about whether or not he'll have a full workload week 10, which implies that he will have a workload week 10. Which brings me to the important question. Olivia Culpo. Am I alone in thinking she's not all that?
I mean, she might be one of those where, like, as far as supermodels go, maybe not, but she's definitely a beautiful woman.
Yeah, like, obviously, if I saw her on the street, I'd be like, that's a pretty lady. But I also feel like she's one of those ladies where girls think she's prettier than guys think she's pretty.
I don't know.
The flight attendant should hit us up and let us know. But yeah, so they opened the window. He'll be playing within the next 3 weeks. He's practicing right now. 50-50 on if he plays. Honestly, it doesn't fucking matter. The 49ers aren't going to run the ball particularly well against the Buccaneers because nobody does. The Buccaneers load the box and blitz. And because of the blitz, that's why, as we already explained at too much length earlier in the podcast, the middle of the field is vacant. Like, not open, vacant. Like a house can be sparsely decorated, but a warehouse that's been abandoned is vacant. The abandoned warehouse is the middle of the field of the Bucs defense. And coincidentally, that's exactly where George Kittle / Greg Kittle and Jawan Jennings, like that's where they do all their work. That's like where Kyle Shanahan schemes all his fucking plays to go. 49ers are going to eat apples and bananas. On the other side, the Buccaneers have a little problem where perception is reality and they don't think they can pass the ball anymore because they don't trust their receivers. Now, actual reality is that they can, like, pretty fucking well, but it doesn't matter because they're not going to try, right? You can only do the things you attempt. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take, and they're not going to take the shots because they don't trust their receivers, and Baker doesn't quite trust his protection, and frankly, that's actually a good evaluation, Baker. Entire offensive line's kind of sucked except for worse, and I hate to say that because I really like Cody Barton, but he's just not ready.
Yeah, I mean, the only time they really let Baker unleash it is when it's 3rd and long and, hey, we need to score a touchdown in 1 minute and 40 seconds.
Speaking of which, did you know that Baker Mayfield has the most passing touchdowns in the last 2 minutes of a game in the entire NFL for the last 2 years?
I did, because he got his 10th at the end of this game.
He was tied, but now he's not. Meanwhile, I legitimately have people telling me he's unclutch and terrible in 2 minutes. It's like, well, he's kind of like literally the best at 2 minutes, but okay. I can't bet this game because I can't bet on the Buccaneers. Now, if Todd Bowles has an epiphany today, wakes up and says, I hate football, I should have been a chef, then I would bet the Buccaneers.
He feels like he'd be a great chef, too.
Especially if he was cooking, like, dairy-based sandwiches between the hours of 9 p.m. and 7 a.m. I'm saying that Todd Bowles makes them at night. I'm saying that Todd Bowles has trouble cutting his own meat. I'm saying that Todd Bowles has Velcro shoes. I'm saying that Todd Bowles struggles with thoughts.
I think he might be a great man.
I'm saying that Todd Bowles...
His His style of play is infuriating.
What style is that? Utter incompetence in every possible way every time you touch an area of the team?
Yeah, I can't say anything nice about him. I just feel like I can't say anything mean because you have thoroughly covered that for the both of us.
Well, hey, the man's got a long track record of success, leading the Jets to 5 wins, 7 wins, 5 wins, and missing the playoffs with Tom Brady. No, sorry, he made the playoffs with a losing record. He made the wild card spot with Tom Brady. Buccaneers have the number 1 scoring offense in the NFL, and they have a losing record and a defensive head coach.
It's bad. So I don't think we can bet on this game, and I'm going to force you to move off because otherwise we're going to be talking until next week's pod.
Or until we know the election results. Just very quickly, what's going to happen is that the 49ers are going to be winning by like 10, and then Baker Mayfield's going to lead a 2-minute drive to pull it within 3, and then the 49ers will kneel the ball out. Or better yet, the Buccaneers will take a late lead. Todd Bowles will play prevent defense with 8 guys on the field, and then the 49ers will score a quick field goal to win small. And then the Buccaneers will be 4-6 and facing tough decisions. Next game.
Next up, and closing out the 12 o'clock hour, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers going to play the Washington Commanders. The Commanders are -3.
And the Commanders suddenly have a nice secondary.
I mean, is Marshawn Lattimore healthy?
I think he had Devontae Adams sickness.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people saying that, and I wouldn't be shocked because
Buddy,
he seems like the type.
He claimed the exact same injury as Devontae Adams. A sore hamstring. The Steelers' offense is really simple. If you watched football in 1943, you understand the Steelers' offense. Run the ball some more, run the ball, throw it super deep, not accurately, not in stride, but you have 2 towers of men outside in George Pickens and now Mike Williams, who are just jump ball extraordinaires.
Yeah.
Benjamin St. Juste is not good for anything, but what he is
terrible.
Good for. Jump balls are like the one area of the game where he's actually helpful. Marshawn Lattimore is dope, period. He's good in everything. He can legitimately match up with Pickens. I think the Steelers' deep ball game will be severely hindered. I think that they will run the ball against the Commanders, but not amazing, because just the Steelers run the ball a lot, but they don't run it well, right? On the other side, I actually think the Steelers' defense matches up really well with the Commanders' offense. We talked a lot over the years about how the Steelers' defense basically mandates that every linebacker that plays for them gets a terrible PFF grade because they ask a lot of their linebackers. They ask their linebackers to play really, really large swaths of the field while the cornerbacks are asked to do very little. But the Commanders don't throw in the middle. It's all screens and deep shots. And that's exactly what I want physical corners and ball hawking safeties to be doing. Coming up and tackling screens and getting back there to break up deep balls. It is going to be strength on strength. I think it'll be actually a very competitive game. I don't think it'll be great football, but I think it'll be very competitive, exciting football. Thus, I cannot bet this game.
Yeah, I have a slight lean to the Commanders.
I agree.
But I don't want to bet this game. Never know what happens when the Steelers defense, especially TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith, go up against a rookie quarterback. But I don't want to bet on Russell Wilson and a Steelers team that still isn't very good. Next up.
Yeah.
Kicking off the 3 o'clock hour, we have the Tennessee Titans going to play the Los Angeles Chargers. The Chargers are -7.5.
The Chargers have figured out how to play offense. Not well, but they figured it out. They figured out we need to pass the ball a lot more. And they even figured out that they need to throw deep a lot more. But they haven't really figured out how to design plays really well for deep shots. And just their passing game generally is not very well designed. But they're doing the right thing, and their quarterback has been on fire. Justin Herbert has been nearly perfect for a month. The Titans are an unmitigated disaster on special teams. Their defense has to give up at some point, right? And I still am not totally certain who's playing quarterback for them. It sounds like Levis is back this week for sure, because it sounds like he was close last week. So welcome back from injury, Will Levis. You're playing against one of the best defenses in the league.
Good luck, fucker.
You dumb motherfucker. Just come back against the Patriots when you're not fully healthy. You will at least look better and build some cachet. Whoever Will Levis's agent is needs to give me a call and just fix his career, because that is dumb. Buddy, you don't take your first test of the year on the final exam. You do a practice run. And the Chargers, the Jesse Minter, this defensive coordinator for the Chargers, legit. These Harbaugh brothers can really pick defensive coordinators. Every other part of the game, not so much. But the defensive coordinators, got Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa looking like it's 2018 out here. But I digress. 7.5 is too big.
Into it.
And even with Levis back, I don't trust it. So we pass.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, at 7.5, I think you can only really bet on the Titans, but we're either getting a Will Levis who hasn't played in a handful of weeks or Mason Rudolph. Either way, I do not like that. Next up, we have the New York Jets going to play the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals are -1.
Do you like either of these teams in this game? Because I think I do, but I want to hear what you think first.
Let me think. I do, but I don't like it.
All right. I'm going to say 3, 2, 1, and then we're both going to say the team that we lean towards, okay?
All right.
3, 2, 1, Jets.
Jets.
Okay. That lag is because we're on Zoom, not because Alex copied me.
Was there lag? To me, it was actually perfect.
Okay. To me, there was a tiny lag, but again, Zoom.
It sounded like blood harmony to me.
I kind of like the Jets.
I don't like it though. My initial gut reaction is Cardinals because somehow they keep playing better than we expect them to, and the Jets largely underperform.
They always do, except last week.
True. I think it does make a huge difference to Rodgers to have Devontae Adams, and it really makes their passing game elite. And the Cardinals have a bad defense. Like they have, and especially in the secondary. Obviously, they have Budda Baker, who is apparently eternal, but they have bad corners.
Guess how old Budda Baker is? I know the answer.
I'm going to go 32.
I'm going to go 28.
Damn.
Yeah. Feels a lot older, right?
He does.
28 and 32, those could never go together. It's Stalin's birthday next week.
Oh, exciting.
That old bag. She don't listen to the pod. She just intros it. I think the Jets will be able to put up points on offense simply by default. I really, really hate the Cardinals defense. And then on the other side of the ball, Kyler Murray is really only good outside of structure when shit gets weird and when the Cardinals can run the ball really effectively. Sorry, every once in a while I glance over to see the election results on the TV.
Joe did shoot down my idea of doing a combo live election pod with this week's bets. So
shut up and dribble, Alex.
I'm just trying to be Wolf Blitzer out here, man. Let me be Wolf.
What an incredible name. Waste of a newscaster.
I know.
Wolf Blitzer should be riding motorcycles and fighting dudes who disrespect women. It's a fucking awesome name.
It is. It sounds like a comic book character.
Yeah, who is like, you should be nicer to her.
I was going to go with a Native American football player.
Blitzer? That's German. Also, Wolf. Is Wolf Blitzer just a German, like a regular German name?
It could be. See, I was going with Wolf because your people love the animals here.
They do. They really do.
Anyway, who are we picking in this game? Are we going to do the Jets?
I want to maybe pile the Jets.
I'm fine with maybe piling it. It does scare me because the Jets are still just such a strange situation that I think is on the precipice of blowing up at any second, and it rides way too much on Aaron Rodgers' emotions for the day.
So I think that, oh, fuck, dude, if Trump loses, Aaron Rodgers is going to be very sad. But counterpoint, Aaron Rodgers, Trump revenge game.
I was going to say, I think either way, he's going to be feeling juiced up from whatever happens.
Ooh, so I have Aaron Rodgers who's juiced up from either election result.
And Call of Duty came out pretty recently.
It did, but Kyler has been leaning into that. He's self-aware. He's become self-aware. So we've got fired up election Rodgers, plus we've got everything is going just fine because we traded away the bad man Mike Williams Rodgers, plus we've got we're so back, we're 3-6, everything is fine Aaron Rodgers. This is a lot of Aaron Rodgers. All of the vibes-based handicapping says Jets, 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 and that scares the shit out of me.
What's the money looking like?
I bet you it's Jets 60%. It's Jets 60%. It's actually not that bad. The sharp money is very slightly on the Cardinals, but it's pretty balanced action. I don't know, dude. We'll maybe pile it. We've got 3 maybes. Let's just finish out the slate and then we'll reconcile the maybes.
Yeah, we have, 3 more games to go?
I accidentally hit record too quick, but we're going to roll with it.
And finishing out the 3 o'clock hour, we have the Philadelphia Eagles going to play the Dallas Cowboys. The Eagles are -7.5.
How the fuck do we not bet the Eagles here?
Is it 7.5?
Counterpoint, Dak Prescott on IR for a team that can't run the ball or play defense.
That is a good point.
Eagles. Dude, they're just going to run the ball for 398 yards. God damn it. 90% of the tickets and cash on the Eagles. But seriously, I don't understand how the Cowboys hang.
I mean, the Eagles did let the pretty bad Jaguars back into that game and turned it into a serious game. And now we don't even have,
Hold on.
We're laying 7.5. It's a touchdown plus.
The Eagles beat the Jaguars last week by 7 despite a defensive touchdown, right? Or by 5 despite a defensive touchdown. And the Jaguars and Cowboys are basically similar caliber teams, but the Cowboys lost their starting quarterback.
Yeah, it is a problem.
Philly's at the very least got to be a teaser leg.
Yeah, absolutely. If it was even just 7 flat.
No, I hear you. The hook does stink. That's a full scythe. The 7 plus 5.5, that's a scythe.
Yeah, just because that's such a big number for any backdoor stuff. So I think maybe pile, definitely a teaser or drop dead leg. But let's go to Sunday night. On Sunday night, we have the Detroit Lions going to play the Houston Texans. The Lions are -3.5.
The Lions.
Yeah, I want to bet on the Lions. And we spent 20 minutes talking about how CJ Stroud has underwhelmed this year and the Texans have been kind of fake. And the Lions are just a wagon right now.
I mean, dude, the Lions are sick and they can do it in every possible way. And they just added a serviceable defensive end in
Zadarius Smith.
Zadarius. It's another one where 90% of the fucking bets are on the Lions. But you know what? God damn it. The football has to matter. And there is no weird vibes going on with these teams. Both of them are in good spirits. There's no weather handicap. It is prime time. It is the Detroit Lions with a genius offensive coordinator versus the Texans, who have had a lot of struggles. It is similar caliber quarterbacks, but I get the better coaching staff in every way that matters, right? Fourth down decisions, Lions. Offensive design, Lion. Offensive play calling, Lions. Weaponry, Lions by a lot. I think Will Anderson might be banged up too.
Yeah, he was. I mean, he got hurt on Thursday.
Yeah, but he had the long week. He's fine. But yeah, I mean, Collins and Diggs are both IR still. The Texans' only hope last week was running the ball with Joe Mixon, but the Lions have been pretty tough against the run.
Yeah, and that was against the Jets.
Yeah.
Whose D-line is bad. Quentin Williams and a bunch of shit. And they had a bunch of guys get hurt.
Yeah.
I don't think we have to overthink it.
No, we don't. I think the Lions are going to run away with this game. And I think that CJ Stroud is going to... I think that this time next week, people are going to be talking about, did we maybe crown CJ Stroud too quickly? Did we Mac Jones this guy a little bit?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I could also see him having some late points or something like that keeps that at bay a little bit longer. But that's a bet. Probably the best bet.
Probably the best.
We'll get to that. And for Monday night, closing out the week, we have the Miami Dolphins going to play the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams are -2.5.
Tricky. It's a very actionable line. Very tricky. So the Rams were lucky to win last week.
Absolutely.
The Dolphins are better than people are giving them credit for. They're not a 2-win team. But Tua is bad. And scheme fades. McVay and McDaniel are very familiar with each other. God damn it. I mean, this is tough. Puka Nacua will be back and ostensibly pretty healthy because he sat out last week due to the world's weakest punch.
I was about to say, I don't know if he sat out last week because he was instructed to sit down.
He wasn't even like a punch. It was that kind of aggressive, smack a guy past you type of thing. It was basically a swim move. He swim moved a guy a little bit.
I understand why they said it was a punch. It was a weird looking punch, and it was why would you punch a guy with a helmet on?
Yeah.
But it looked like a punch enough that I understand why they tossed it.
Yeah, no, they should have, but it was weird. Sorry, I'm giggling at the electoral map because it always looks funny. And I like that we play the plausible deniability as if we don't know that certain states are going to go certain colors no matter what. And we still don't know how California's going to go, Alex. Who could tell?
What about Idaho? That one's got to be up for grabs this year, right?
Honestly, I don't even know who lives in Idaho.
People that don't want anyone to know where they live.
Okay, you make sense. I know how they vote now. You can be Wolf Blitzer. So Rob Havenstein's out for the Rams. That's like the one big injury right now. Everybody else is pretty much back. They might even get Jordan Whittington back, which makes the Rams a three-headed monster at receiver that I love.
You
that means
do
it
love
right.
Jordan Whittington.
Fucking love. He's going to be better than Cooper Kupp within a year. Like, not better than Cooper Kupp ever was, but like within a year, Jordan Whittington will be a better option than Cooper Kupp. Largely, I mean, the age is in my favor, but I also really love Whittington. Have for like 4 years because that man stayed at Texas for ages, much like apparently Rafael Cruz. They just call it for him.
Really?
Yeah.
And you said you didn't want to do election pod.
No, but they're starting Noteboom at right tackle, once upon a time they thought he was going to be their future left tackle.
Yeah.
They were wrong, but he's still a really good swing. And that offensive line will be perfectly fine holding up against Chop Robinson's tiny ass, and Emmanuel Ogbah is still a starter in this league.
Dude, he still produces too. Like, I understand why.
He's the same guy he has always been, where it's like, yeah, I mean, he doesn't bend and he doesn't really have moves, but he's like pretty athletic and he like gives you a solid presence. Like, he is the perfect journeyman. That's enough defensive end.
Mm-hmm. He's going to be good in the run. He's going to push the pocket.
My Bears fans out there will recognize he's Israel Idonije. He's enough. You're not like, oh fuck, we got a game plan for Emmanuel Ogbah, but you're like, he's not a punk. Anyhow, Stafford will have enough time because like the only good defensive lineman is Calais Campbell, and he's only good because he stops the run. He's not a pass rusher. Crazy that he was a defensive end for so long, and now he's been a run-stuffing defensive tackle for 15 years. I'm not even exaggerating.
He was a key veteran on the Bruce Arians Cardinals.
Yeah, that was after he had like an entire career in Jacksonville. I think that McVay will have a really nice time victimizing Kendall Fuller with Puka Nacua because it's just a size mismatch. Like, I like Kendall Fuller, always have. He's a slot. He's a small guy. Puka Nacua is a very powerful X. And then Cooper Kupp versus Jalen Ramsey, that'll keep them preoccupied. Old dudes battle of 2019. I don't love McVay's decision making. I don't love McVay as a coach generally, but I don't think this Dolphins defense is scary in any way. Here's the issue I have. The Rams secondary is kind of like the Buccaneers linebacking core in that they don't really exist in coverage.
They're a theoretical pass defending group.
Yeah, technically there are people out there, but they're not doing anything. And the number one problem with the Rams secondary is that it's very slow. The number one problem that the Dolphins present is that their receivers are very fast. So I foresee some deep passes, some explosives. Pew, 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 pew. As Jonathan Gannon would say. I can't bet on the Rams as much as I want to, dude. Because like the Rams defense gets by because their defensive line is fucking sick. Like Jared Verse is legitimately an all-star already. Granted, he's 25 as a rookie. And then Braden Fisk is really good too. And they're like a perfect combo together. It's a good defensive line, like a legitimately very good one. But that doesn't matter because the Dolphins get the ball out in under 2.5 seconds.
Yeah.
So you got to look Dolphins. I never want to bet on a very bad quarterback against a good quarterback, especially when the coaching is as close to even as it probably ever will get. Just because like McDaniel is elite, but Sean McVay A, knows him, and B, is theoretically pretty good himself. Although I'm low on him.
I don't want to bet on this game.
I don't want to bet on Tua. I lean Dolphins, but I'm not betting on Tua.
Yeah, so I think this one just gets passed because you're right that I think Miami is the play, but the Rams feel like a team that they just feel like a better team in that they win those close games and pull things out that they shouldn't. And maybe this is voodoo, but the Dolphins feel like the opposite, where they have the crazy stuff happen to them.
Yeah.
So I just want to stay away from it. And we already have plenty of maybes to pick from. Also, interesting thing I was looking at, we are only betting on road teams this week.
Yeah, predominantly road favorites also, which is like the dumbest thing you can do.
Yeah. So to recap, we have Buffalo over Indianapolis. Buffalo's -4. We have Minnesota -4 at Jacksonville. And then we have Detroit -3 at Houston. Best bet. I think.
Yeah.
So we have to get 2 more games, and our maybes are New England +6 at Chicago, Atlanta -3.5 at New Orleans, Jets. I just did money line at Arizona. I think they're +1.
Yeah.
And then Philly -7.5 at Dallas.
Fuck. I mean, we're falling for every trap they're laying. Like, okay, we don't do this shit, but every like the wise guy type bettors, like this is how the market theory, and like you got to catch the steam, and like these are the tricks and tips. Like the people who don't actually talk football while talking about betting on football, they will fade every single one of these picks, and that's terrifying because those people don't lose a ton. They over the long term they win. I don't want to fade them.
All right, so New England.
Okay, so the 3 that I know we're betting are Detroit -3.5 because I love that. Like I can explain the reason the line is that way. It's a closer line than it should be because people think the Texans just had a bad game or ran into a buzzsaw against the Jets, but they're still a great team and Stroud is still a great quarterback. We know Stroud is much more like what we saw Thursday than what people think of him. And we also know Ben Johnson, he's gorgeous. Minnesota is partially just because we like Minnesota a lot more than everybody else does, and we have all year. And we were right. So why would we change? I'm also lower on Trevor Lawrence than most, and I think he will be totally bewildered by Brian Flores. Buffalo -4 over Indy. I don't know. Joe Flacco's like a C- to D+ quarterback. He's not a good quarterback. He's just better than Anthony Richardson, and that's not good either. So those 3 I like. Atlanta over New Orleans is scary because New Orleans is not as bad as they seem, but you have the material changes, right? You've got obvious open public unrest and complaint within the locker room. You've got coach being fired. You've got both of your wide receivers out, one of them because your quarterback gave him a traumatic brain injury with a suicide ball. That's a lot of bad vibes stacking on top of each other.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue that firing the coach is a good thing, at least for these betting purposes.
Alex, I want to go with Tampa.
Well, back. I don't really love any of these because the Jets scare me because they just seem like they could blow up at any second. New England is just a bad team. Atlanta is a bad number. The Saints have that coach bump. Who knows? It's a division game. And then Philly's a touchdown and a hook. And they're a lot better, but they can play shitty, and we have to cover more than a touchdown.
And it's yet another big road favorite, which is what we're trying to get away from. I'm just looking are there any home dogs that we like? And the only home dog that I think looks appetizing on this slate of games is the Bucs. It's the only team that I can see a path to. I could see the Bucs winning that game. They're going to come out with their fucking heads on fire because they're basically playing for their season. And they just need to lose by slightly less than a fucking touchdown.
Yeah. What's San Francisco like health-wise? How are the receivers?
They're going to be rolling with Debo, or Ayuk's out for the season, I think.
Right, but Debo's healthy, right?
Debo's back. Jennings will be back. Pearsall is back.
I was about to say, in another week of Pearsall rebuilding that muscle.
I mean, the 49ers are at absolute full strength coming off a bye. Fuck me. Do you think if the Buccaneers lose again this week, despite scoring 25, 30 points, Todd Bowles will be fired midseason?
No.
I agree. I really don't think there's any way he gets fired. Okay, so we're not betting the Bucs because it makes absolutely no sense to do so.
No, I don't want to bet on the Jets. I mean, I could honestly even bet on the Cardinals.
I
don't know. I don't think I want to bet on that game.
Are we betting on? Dude, let's bet on New England.
I was about to say, I think let's bet on New England because at least we're a plus number. The Bears seem like they're on the precipice of imploding. Well, if the Bears lose to the Patriots, do they fire Eberflus?
The Bears have never fired a coach in the middle of the season, and they never will. It's like a point of pride.
Cool. Gives me a little more insight into why the Bears are the way they are. Yeah, let's take our lone dog of the week and see if Drake May does some magic.
Okay, who's our 5th bet? Fuck it, Atlanta.
I probably just because it's the most reasonable number and New Orleans is very bad
Yeah, fuck it.
lately, at least.
Atlanta. Okay, so here's how we're gonna do this. Detroit minus 3.5 against Houston, 3 units.
Okay.
Minnesota minus 4 against Jacksonville, 2 units. Buffalo minus 4 against Indy, 2 units. New England plus 6 over Chicago, 1 unit. Atlanta minus 3.5 against New Orleans, 1 unit.
No, let's make a teaser with Philly minus 7.5 down to.
Hell yeah, Batman. Hell yeah.
You want to do with San Francisco, and then it's just they're.
I'm not betting against Baker. Let's do Kansas City.
I don't know, man. Kansas City's got to lose eventually.
I know, and they're not.
Denver's defense has always given him problems.
Baltimore? I don't like that.
Let's see. You want to do the Chargers?
No. Actually, fucking kind of. Yeah. No.
I mean, they just got to win, right?
Yeah, but I get weird vibes about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to feel comfortable about going, oh, yeah, the Chargers just have to win.
No, the Chargers are going to win.
But Tennessee's bad. The Chargers have the vibes. Their defense is better. And that's
Chargers in Philly. That's the teaser.
1 unit?
2. Absolutely 2. Maybe 3. Definitely 2.
And what numbers are we getting those at? They're too small.
It's going to be 1.5 on each.
That's fine with me. 2 units?
Yep.
Beautiful.
All right, read them back to the guys, and then let's get the hell out of here.
All right, so we'll go best bet first. We have Detroit minus 3.5. That is a 3-unit bet. Next, we have Buffalo minus 4. That's a 2-unit bet. Minnesota minus 4, 2-unit bet. We have the Chargers and Philly both tees to minus 1.5. That is a 2-unit bet. And then we have New England plus 6 for 1 unit and Atlanta minus 3.5 for 1 unit.
You said the teaser?
Yeah.
Cool. Then we're done. All right. Till next time, please bet on football games. Asta.
2-unit bet. And then we have New England plus 6 for 1 unit and Atlanta minus 3.5 for 1 unit.
You said the teaser?
Yeah.
Cool. Then we're done. All right. Till next time, please bet on football games. Asta.